Motivation Optics.
Motivation Optics.
Motivation Optics.
Motivation Optics.
Motivation Optics.
Motivation Optics.
Oh man, Motivation Optics, baby.
Motivation Optics.
Motivation Optics.
Motivation Optics.
Motivation Optics.
Motivation Optics, everyone.
Motivation Optics.
Motivation Optics.
What's going on? It's Dre. It's Motivation Optics. Today I'm going to be talking about listening. Listening. One thing we don't like to do is listen. Us as human beings, majority of us, we don't like to listen. We're stubborn as a mule. We feel like we don't need nobody's input or information to reach our destination in life. We got this. I'm going to be good. I don't need your help. It's alright. Thank you though. But I'm going to give you a gem that my grandmother gave me. My grandmother told me that my grandfather used to tell her this all the time. The humblest calf sucks the most milk. My great-grandfather used to tell her that all the time. The humblest calf sucks the most milk. That's a Jamaican saying. Let others drink their milk. In other words, let them bask in their sunlight. Be humble and give an ear out. Listen to those who have information to offer in order to enhance your knowledge on your journey. So once you reach your destination, you have the tools you need to fuel your success. The humblest calf sucks the most milk. Even if you drink milk last, embrace it. Embrace it, right? Even if you're the last person to shine, embrace it. Because there's no time limit on your shine. There's no time limit on your feeding time because you're the last one. You're the last one. So just embrace it. Don't rush greatness. Don't rush the process. Don't rush what it has to take to reach that goal that you got. That's better for you. You got more learning time. More time to build up. All those tools for when you make it to the top. Don't rush greatness. And that brings it to another discussion I'll be talking about later on. Quality over quantity. Don't rush greatness. Trust in your process. You can't expect to learn something when talking. Because when you're talking, you're not listening. Every day I wake up, I see that I'm blessed with multiple traits. The silence is one. You'll see what I'm talking about though. The silence is one. You are born with 5 senses, right? I know some people out there who aren't born with as much senses as a regular human being is supposed to be born with. But that should give you the hunger and the desire and the passion. That should let you take action to go harder. Because you have that advantage. You have an advantage that some people don't. But use the 5 W's on your senses, right? Who should I engage this sense on? What sense should I apply? When should I use it? And where, being that, what environment should I use it? And why should I use that sense? Silence is the most deadliest weapon when used. Why? Because when you're not using a sense, your mouth, talking, when you're not using a sense, another sense becomes stronger. And that's the gift of hearing. You see, wise men laugh and listen when fools talk. Sometimes no response is the best response. Listen. That's one of our biggest downfalls. Some people just love to talk. Talk so much they'll miss out on the key they needed in order to complete their journey of success. Learn who to talk to and what to conceive from that discussion. Learn how to master the ability of intellectually using your senses. Observe your environment. By that, I mean learn who's around you. Learn who you're amongst. That's the only time when you should be talking. During socializing and network. If you engage in a conversation with someone who has no form of intellect to feed you, silence the conversation. If you engage in a conversation with someone who has powerful knowledge to offer, silence yourself. And that's what I meant by one of my multiple traits that I'm blessed with is silence. People don't know how powerful being silent is, right? So if I engage in a conversation with someone who has powerful knowledge to offer, I'm going to silence myself. It's okay to keep a conversation going, but you're all ears at that point. Because knowledge is one of the most powerful things in this earth. On this earth, in this world, Knowledge is one of the most powerful things. Knowledge is so powerful that people get killed for withholding it. Learn to listen and not talk as much. Also put your pride away. That's one of our biggest downfalls, our pride. See, I go up to somebody, right, and I say, hey, I already know that it's best taking pictures at a raw quality when I'm going to do editing after, right? But can you teach me how to precisely edit in Photoshop? Somebody got some paint on their neck and collar that I want to brush out. How much information do you think that person's going to be willing to give you, being at the fact that you just portrayed the image that you already know it all? Your mind should be as blank as a chalkboard, as dry as a sponge that hasn't been used. You should be willing to soak up all the energy and write all that information on that chalkboard till it's filled up. You told somebody that you already know that it's best taking pictures at a raw quality, right? But being that you told him that now, he or she is gonna tell you information on what you wanted. But the way that you knew, there could have been a way that's way better than that way that you may never know now because you were too busy talking. One thing I love about the army is the chain of command. But the worth of the chain is slowly depreciating. They say every great leader was once a follower, right? And that's the problem. New leaders weren't followers before they became leaders. In other words, they felt as if they were already leaders before they became one, so they didn't care for the knowledge in order to learn how to be one. That's a problem with a lot of us as human beings today. Don't get me wrong, a leader can learn from a soldier in his lineup just as well as a soldier can learn from his leader. But that's where acceptance comes from. That's where being humble comes from. No matter how far you reach in life, doesn't matter how far you reach, it does not mean that you know everything, and it does not mean you can't learn from somebody who is below you. No matter how far you reach in life, always keep an ear out. If you're a private in a room with a sergeant, if you're a sergeant in a room with a first sergeant, if you're a first sergeant in a room with a sergeant major, your goal should be to learn as much as you can from that individual for that short period of time that you're in the room with that person. Because that person's in a place that you would probably want to be and you have not reached yet. If you walked in that room with 75% knowledge, your goal should be to walk out with double that. So if you're walking with 75%, your goal should be to walk out with 150. It's your boy Dre, Motivation Optics.
I take a glimpse into time, watch the blimp read, the world is mine.
If I rule the world,
imagine that.
I free all my sons. I love them, baby. Black diamonds and pearls.
Could it be, if you could be mine, we both shine.
If I rule the world,
still living for today, in these last days until